Do you love the survival shows but not the drama? Do you ever wonder if the skills they show are for real? Come with Justin Wolf and Larry Roberts as they show what it takes to really do what they show on TV. Watch them as they act out different scenarios and show you the common mistakes most people make when faced with the tough choices you can be faced with when all does not go as planned in the wild.
So in this episode of Clothed and Confident, we're going to do something just a little bit differently. What we're going to do is I am going to go into a store and we're going to start doing a little shopping. Not necessarily to buy anything, but just to kind of take a look, browse, and see what they have, and possibly open up some people's eyes to what items can be used for that they never truly thought that they could be used for. A lot of these items I'm going to give an example of what they can be used for, and the majority of people are going to be like, well, duh. But there's also going to be people out there that didn't necessarily think about that. Now, are these going to be items that I personally would buy and personally keep in my kits? Maybe, maybe not. That's not what this video is about. It's not about me telling you guys what you need or what you should buy. It's, like I said, just a matter of me showing you some things that we can buy at a reasonable price that we can use. We also have to determine what is our goal. Is our goal, bushcraft? Is our goal car camping? Is our goal, survival training? All these factors come into play when we choose these different items. And something else that everybody needs to understand is I can't spend 5 minutes on each item talking about all the different uses for it, and I may have walked past some items that there was uses for also. If I was to give a full-length description of everything that you could use these items for, this video would be hours upon hours long. So it's up to you guys as viewers to think outside of the box. Look at these items and think to yourself, what could I use them for? Because you may come up with something truly awesome that I never thought of. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Alright, so in this store we have a camping section. So honestly, we could come in here and we could spend some money and get away with a few things, but we're gonna, like I said, look at some out of the box items. So let's move on and get away from this particular aisle. So you may be asking yourself or telling yourself there's never in a million years that you're ever going to come across something like a air mattress or a swimming pool or something along them lines when you're out in nature. Well, let me tell you, the river that I frequent, I have found almost everything, including swimming pools. And swimming pools are obviously meant to hold water, so in an emergency situation, you could definitely use that liner as shelter or as means to collect fire. And blue is a very good color to stick out in nature for signaling as well. WD-40 and most things in its category are obviously going to be flammable, some more than others. So we can obviously use that as a surefire if it's something that we kind of stumble upon. And there has been times when I've been out hunting and come across an old farmhouse, and at that farmhouse found things like WD-40 and other things very similar. This side we've got Gojo soap, which personally I've never found anything with Gojo soap, but let's take a closer look at it. Gojo soap has an abrasive in it. So the fact that it has an abrasive in it means that we could probably use that as a decent strop compound or an aggressive strop compound. Now we're in the tire section, tire foam and all that good stuff. I can't quite think of anything for that. Let's look above. We've got shoe goo and JB Weld, and oh man, you guys know all the uses for that stuff. Countless uses. You don't need me to tell you about all that. And of course, how many times have we seen a survival show where they've taken a battery and used it to start a fire? Hundreds of videos out there showing you how to do that. You know, here we're talking about a battery and starting a fire. You know, we've got some thinner gauge wire up there that we could strip out and use. Zip ties. Zip ties can be used just like cordage and are very strong and extremely fast. In an emergency situation, those would probably be better than actual cordage. And I'm talking a survival situation, not necessarily a long term, even though they hold up long term pretty dang well. But I turn the camera around and oh my, survival heaven. We've got all kinds of options here for tarps, little come along straps, ratchet straps, excuse me. And of course we've got the poly tarps. Poly tarps are awesome because they are cheap. They don't mind fire embers. They actually retain a good amount of heat. Very waterproof, very durable. The only problems you ever see when it comes to poly tarps really are the grommets, because the grommets can rip out, especially if you're in a windy area. But of course there's a solution to that right over here. And that's these bungee straps. You put a bungee strap on them grommets and then attach one end to the stake in the ground, and when the wind blows up, it stretches instead of rips. So that's kind of nice. So I tell you what, even if you want to build a long-term kit and use a poly tarp, there is absolutely nothing wrong with those. I have got probably 6 or 7 poly tarps. I've used them from making lean-tos all the way up to a teepee, and they work very nice. How many times have you found a spare tire washed ashore? I know I have. You ever seen the kind of black smoke that comes out of these things when they're burning? You want to talk about a signal fire. There's your ultimate signal fire right there. Now we talk about filters and things like that. Well, yeah, obviously this is going to be an air filter, but in a pinch, if you find something like this, you could hang it over a water supply, pour it in, and it's definitely going to clean out the debris and everything. Obviously you're still going to want to boil it, but at least it will work in a pinch. What are you looking at? The chicks?
Yeah, I heard their little teeth.
Don't you have enough chickens?
I just said I was going to look at them.
Oh. Chainsaw. Find yourself in a survival situation, you got a chainsaw, you can make yourself one hell of a long fire. Enough said on this. We all know exactly what that is. A lot of ranchers in Montana move cattle a long distance. Things like this and a little bit of wire can go a long way. Attach these to trees, wrap a thin wire gauge around them, and you've got a makeshift corral for your horses. Let them free graze. So we're over in the horse tack area, and saddle blankets like this often find in old abandoned ranch houses or modern ranch houses, or again, sometimes you can just find them. I mean, it's amazing, like I said, the things that you can find. These things are ultra thick, and the old ones are made out of wool. Now the newer ones, some of them are still made out of wool, but most of the time they're a wool synthetic blend. But these things are majorly thick. Talk about the ultimate ground mat right there. Heavy, but by God, if you needed it, it would work great. Now here's what we call a horse bat on the ranch. Now something like this here is called a act right. See? Watch.
Hey, Daddy.
Act right.
I got a horse.
Act right. See? It's an act right.
Horse, Dad. That's not where it goes.
What are you talking about? That's exactly where you got it. Oh, my bad.
That's exactly where it goes.
I'm going to have to use the act right again. I don't think it matters what kind of a bucket or container you come across. It's pretty common sense what you could use those things for. And depending on what they're made for or made out of, you can use them for more things. Springtime brings on baby chicks, baby birds, all that good stuff. And something everybody needs to remember is, like Dave Canterbury always says, live food never spoils. So you come across a clutch of chicks or birds or something like that, take them with you. Don't kill them. Take them with you until you need them. Because as long as they're alive, they're not spoiling. Chicken wire. Obviously, this can be made for multiple reasons. Funneling in animals if you find it in a survival situation, or if you have some on hand. Something that you can do is put this up when it's time for deers to start shedding antlers. Put this up along a fence line or a tree line. Put a little bit of corn in front of it, or a little bit of bait, and they'll lean over to eat on that corn and start rubbing their antlers on the chicken wire. And a lot of times they'll drop right then and there. Good old rebar. You know, rebar is something that I collect to use on my forge because I've made all kinds of things from tent stakes from it, all the way down to squirrel cookers. Some of the older rebar has a lot of carbon content in it, and sometimes you can make strikers and everything from it. The newer stuff doesn't seem like it has near as much carbon in it, but still, a lot of good uses. You know, so something to also remember is dog food. Dog food is, I think it's called FTA approved. Don't quote me on that, but it means that it is, you can consume it as a human, let's put it that way. Maybe it doesn't taste good, maybe I have not tried dog food, but guess what, you probably have too. You just don't want to admit it. Some point or another, all kids usually eat a little bit of dog food or cat food. Makeshift container after you eat it.
It's because we have a dog, so my dad might eat it.
Oh, you think I eat it now? Wouldn't that be an insult to Mommy's cooking?
Eat this.
Yes, it was.
It's actually not uncommon for preppers a lot of time to store bags of dog food just like this because they store for a very long time, and the fact that, well, you can eat it. Rawhide bones. In Kansas, we don't have native pine or native birch, so if we want to make a natural glue, a lot of times we can just boil and render that stuff down to make natural hide glue. If you guys want the all-time best tick and mosquito repellent, try to find something. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Prometheum, I believe is how you pronounce it. Holy smokes. Last year, the brand that I was turned on to is from Sawyer, the same company that makes the water filters, and they have a spray that is already diluted down, and all you need to do is spray it on your clothes, let it dry for about 3 to 6 hours, and then you can wear it, and it lasts for many, many days. And I wore that at a primitive gathering and then the rest of summer, and never once had a tick bite me, not one time. And that is a rarity because usually ticks just flock to me. So remember that, Prometheum. I don't think I need to say more. I actually own several dog bowls myself that I use at home and in multiple kits. When you go to Cabela's or any other major outdoor stores, sometimes you'll find your wool socks for a lot more expensive than what they need to be. Places like this, you can often find them cheaper. It's funny because I can remember as a kid having to use these types of rain ponchos and everything else. And, you know, nowadays I use a lighter weight Gore-Tex, but these things are actually quite strong, and you can find them very, you know, not necessarily cheap, but at reasonable prices. The other thing is a lot of times you can find muck boots, at hardware stores like this, and they are oftentimes cheaper than what they're going to be in stores like Cabela's. And they also offer a lot of alternatives as well. On a day pack, the Field Line brand is actually a very inexpensive pack that's pretty decent as far as how they're built and the way that they hold up. You can find these things in stores like this, like I said, for a relatively good price. Most people know all about Ziploc baggies and what they can do and store with those things in their packs. And in fact, if you don't store some items in those Ziploc baggies, you might want to think about doing that. And aluminum foil. In the last Clothing Confident video, I sent Larry Roberts a thing of aluminum foil. And aluminum foil has so many uses, it's not even funny. You can boil water in it, make makeshift containers. You can use it as a reflector. You can wrap yourself up in it, as in a Mylar blanket. Multiple items that you can use with that. Now, in my last Clothing Confident video, my wife was kind enough to send me a little Fruly scented frou-frou trash bag. Now, had she sent me one of these, nice 60-gallon drum line or 55-gallon drum line, boy, the uses are endless, and they are very sturdy. They have to be used for picking up debris in your shop. We use them every year to clean up our yard, leaves, all that stuff. And a mop. In a pinch, you can use it as a Halloween costume if you want to be Raggedy Ann. Goofball.
But it's used to wash things and get it out.
You're a dork. And if you want the ultimate epoxy, this is the best that I've ever found. I love this stuff. I've used this from making knives to handling all kinds of stuff. I mean, you just can't imagine the uses for this. What'd you say, Kaylee?
Duct tape used to stick.
Duct tape used to stick. Indeed. And you can do all kinds of stuff with duct tape, can't you?
Especially with the verb you write on it.
To all my leather crafters out there, if you don't want to use a contact adhesive, use this right here. This Gorilla Wood Glue works really good. It doesn't work as a contact adhesive, but it bonds and holds very strong, very quick. You can use this, wait 20-30 minutes, go back, and it works perfect.
What the heck is this thing?
Alright, so here's another tip for my leather crafters out there. You can find these cheap flexible plastic 4-cell signs, and as what those things do is they make excellent templates. You can make a template on one of these, score it, and it snaps right off, just kind of like Kydex. Very sturdy, very cheap, and you can make a lot of templates for a very good cost.
Excuse me? Thinking but Bobby used to poke, cause like this.
Put a hot dog on it, right? Make s'mores.
And
Poke me in the tummy. Don't poke the camera. Afraid you're venturing into an area that you might get lost? Think about picking up a highly visible tape like this. Throw it in your pack. You know, every so many feet, kind of just put a piece around a branch, and then you can find your way back fairly easy. I don't think I need to really say much about this particular area.
rope. Used to rope things.
Some of this rope actually is kind of neat. The cotton rope, if you cut it in sections and remove the inner core, which is plastic, you can char it, and you can use that as a charred substance, which works very well. Or you can submerge it in molten wax, and you have yourself a very good coal extender. You find yourself on a major budget, find a blade like this, not necessarily in a multiple pack where it costs that much, but maybe a singular blade. You can simply just take a stick, cut a stick of equal length with this saw, then take that stick, split it, lash this to it, and you've got yourself a decent saw.
What can I cut?
Can't afford a fancy flint and steel set? Get yourself a simple file. Take it to the grinder, grind it flat. The trick to a good flint striker is to have one side flat and square and smooth, not have it serrated. If you have it serrated, it will still throw sparks, but it eats your flint. If it's smooth, then it will throw sparks really good, and it conserves your flint very nicely. Just remember, don't heat it up too hot. Keep a thing of water next to it. Grind it, dunk it in water. Grind it, dunk it in water, because you do not want to ruin the temper. Want to make yourself a relatively cheap bushcraft knife, or just a plain and simple knife? Oftentimes you can find saw blades that are made of really good steel. Most of the time it's your older saw blades. Modern saw blades, a lot of times it's just they're tipped with something. But your older ones that you might find in farmhouses and stuff are solid through and through, very nice steel. You cut those down and make some wicked sharp knives that hold an edge for a very long time. I'm not seeing them here, but in the welding supply, oftentimes you can find stainless steel welding rods. And if you know those fishing bales that we use to pull our stainless steel containers in and out of the fire, those stainless steel welding rods we can use and contort and bend and make our own bale, or multiple items just like that, for a relatively cheap cost. And we're getting ready to leave now, but it just dawned on me that I did not see Allen wrenches when we were in the tools department. An Allen wrench, I've heard, can be used as a steel striker also, as all you need to do is remove the powder coat or the anodize or something along that, and I've heard that they use. I've never tried this, but that is something I've heard that maybe you guys can try out. Okay, I lied, we're not quite done. We're on our way out, but remember, if you're talking long term, you might want to think about putting some seeds away. Just do your research, figure out how to store them, how to plant them, proper distance, proper depth, because there's more to it than you might think. Just ask my wife. She can't keep a single plant alive to save her life. Can you?
What's that?
Can't keep a plant alive to save your life.
And kids' toys used to play with.
So there was another episode of Clothed and Confident. I know that this was something that was a little bit different from what you're used to with the series, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it. This is also a video that I did just a little bit differently than Larry did, but again, like I said, I wanted us all just to think outside of the box just a little bit and kind of look at different items and think to ourselves, what would I use those for, or what could I use those for in both long-term situations, luxury type camping situations, or even an actual emergency type situation. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, have a good one.